Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Folks, these are the best in the business. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Hell, even try those half-pound burgers. USDA Prime. Best in the business as far as I'm concerned. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call to find out what's for dinner at 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, whether it's CBS, NBC, Fox, whatnot. All of our independents as well. Thanks for joining us here in fabulous Las Vegas. And also, everybody streaming. Thanks for joining us on the streamer, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, and also on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, plus everybody else on television as well. Okay, we're going to get right into it here. It is the Pac-12, which was, actually it's the Pac-2, right? So the Pac-2 is rebuilding. And so the bigger question is, what's happening with the Pac-2? And so you might surmise that they've been trying to position themselves to rebuild for, well, since losing teams to the Big Ten and to the ACC. Well, guess what? Right. They are trying to rebuild because it's only Washington State and Oregon State currently remaining on the roster for the Pac-2. However, they do have some targets and they have made some acquisitions. All right, so look at it that way. It looks like they're making a little bit of progress. So the Pac-12 is rebuilding, and to date, this is hot off the press. The Pac-12 is mobilizing its long-discussed plan to rebuild the league with additions from the Mountain West Conference. In fact, the two-team conference, being Washington State and Oregon State, will add Boise State, San Diego State, Colorado State, and Fresno State. Well, it looks like it's going to be the state conference at this point, if you know what I mean, because you have all state universities at this point. Nonetheless, that is a big addition, and adding those four squads, or better yet, those four universities, that may bring a little bit of credibility back to the conference itself. Not really sure to what degree, but it should bring some credibility back to the conference. So the Pac-12 actually confirmed the additions in a statement today. So, Commissioner Teresa Gould and officials from the Pac-12 have spent the last year examining the possible options for their future after 10 schools left for the Big Ten, Big 12, and ACC. And they've long held the belief that they can preserve the Pac-12 brand by reconstructing the conference through expansion using its 108-year-old tradition, history, and assets to attract new members. Well, before we get into the balance of this, what I'm curious of is if they are adding new institutions, which of course they are. The Pac-12 previously had a whole bunch of research institutes, right? So we have UCLA and Stanford and Cal and USC and, good schools, good academic institutions that have migrated away. So my big question is, have they vetted the research institutes? Because, folks, these are colleges. These are not sports teams, if you know what I mean. And so the colleges themselves, The research institutions need to be researched. So I guess the bigger question is, out of those four, academically speaking, I don't believe any of those qualify from an academic standpoint. I mean, they're not even at the same level as Washington State or Oregon State academically. So I guess we have a first question, is academically, do they qualify? I'm going to say absolutely not. As an academic recruiter for one of America's top universities, I would absolutely argue against the expansion to those particular institutes only because they don't qualify. Now, the question is, they're going to have to get to at least two more, and they're going to have to target at least a couple of good academic institutions, of course, with the athletics that they're seeking, but more importantly, it has to qualify. And if they don't, then what's going to happen is, in my opinion, the Pac-12 is going to lose their Power 5 standing, right? And I don't really know who wants to see that, because we went all the way from the Pac-8 back in the day to the Pac-10 to the Pac-12. Now they're back to the Pac-8, yet they carry the brand of the Pac-12 because that's what they do. And so you ask yourself, well, all right, what is the goal here? Well, the goal is money and TV contracts. Let's be clear about this, folks. It's money and TV contracts, and it always has been money and TV contracts. So in case you have some wild ideas about this being about academics, I can assure you it has, in my opinion, nothing to do with academics whatsoever. Because if that were the case, they certainly, being the Pac-2, would not have gone after those four institutions that they added to the roster. I mean, really, folks, it is very clear that it is not about academics, right? So, honestly, it's all about... Show me the money! Yeah, it's all about the almighty dollar. Sad but true, and it stinks when it has to be that way, but then again, that's what it has come to. Anyway, so this whole expansion is expected to be the first phase in a multi-phase expansion endeavor to reach at the very least 8 schools. As I mentioned, the NCAA's minimum requirement to qualify as an FBS conference. With the aforementioned 4 joining, the league needs 2 more to complete the process, and it must reach a minimum by July of 2026. That's actually the end of the grace period, the 2-year grace period, by the NCAA. And the Pac-12's board must approve any member application on top of it. And I mean, look, I'm not really sure what criteria. I mean, 2 legs on a pulse for the other 4 that just joined in. And it's just that the Pac-2 are so desperate, as I see it, to maintain their status, maintain the integrity of the Pac-12, that they just said, all right, who wants to come over from the Mountain West? Let's go ahead and take some more. I mean, look, the expansion itself is not expensive. It's not inexpensive, nonetheless. Each Mountain West school is contractually bound to $17 million exit fee, and the Pac-12 is on the hook for an additional $10 to $12 million penalty for every school they acquire as part of the scheduling agreements. Okay, well, guess what? They have, I think, a couple of $100 million sitting there for the Pac-2 or Pac-12, as it were. And so they have plenty in the war chest to compensate the schools that have migrated, or compensate the conference, the Mountain West Conference, that is. So, I mean, look, after months of examining future options, the league officials determined to reimagine the conference with an expansion approach. In negotiations with potential new members, Pac-12 officials and third parties have presented a plan that features a new media rights agreement worth more than the Mountain West Conference current or future television package, as well as sponsorships to potential of the Pac-12 brand itself. And so the 2 schools offered attractive assets, being Oregon State, Washington State, that could total millions as the result of 10 schools departing the conference, including monies from the Rose Bowl contract, college football playoff, NCAA basketball tournament, and the Pac-12 Enterprises, previously the Pac-12 Network. And the league lost its destination and designation as an autonomous power conference as a moniker that gives it more voting privilege within NCAA governance and more revenue in the CFP distribution model. But it's unclear if the conference could regain such designation. Not really sure about that. So during the Pac-12 media days, right here in Las Vegas, Gould, being the director, or being the commissioner of the conference, hosted the media members, administrators, coaches, players for a gathering to celebrate the conference, projecting a bright future and suggesting a potential rebuild. And in fact, she told Yahoo Sports, quote, "There's a lot of interest in having a high-level conference rooted in the West Coast. There are a lot of interest in our communities and fan bases. A lot of people care deeply about the Pac-12 and Pac-12 brand. There's a lot of nostalgia about the possibility of a rebuild," close quote. Well, the Pac-12's first expansion phase considered geographical and cultural significance while serving a blow to the Mountain West rival conference. That's not really cool for them. I mean, look, the Mountain West Conference, a 12-team football league, counting Hawaii, would lose some of its top brands despite a scheduling alliance with the Pac-12 that many projected to end with a reverse merger or merger with Oregon State and Washington State. So, earlier this month, negotiations broke down between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West over adding a second year to the 2024 football scheduling alliance, and a fight that would most notably involve financial differences according to those with knowledge. And the move by the Pac-12 could ignite another round of realignment, at least for those schools at the Group of Five or even FCS level in needing to fill departures. So the Mountain West is likely to evaluate possible members to elevate the FBS. I'll tell you what, when we come back, we're going to finish up with this pretty interesting discussion. We'll see who can migrate to the Pac-12 and who can migrate to the Mountain West without damaging too many or hurting too many feelings. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC Sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500, KHKA, that's home of the New York Yankees, San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody else up and down the West Coast on all of our independents, as well as all the way through Denver, Chicagoland, Minneapolis, St. Paul, through Dallas, down to our friends over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. And speaking of Atlanta, big hello to our friends over there as well, WDJY 99.1 FM. And all of our other friends up and down the East Coast from Miami through Washington, D.C., Boston, New York, and beyond. All right. And hello to our friends on TV. All right, back with this Pacific 12, but you can call it the Pac-12 expansion from the Pac-2 now to the Pac-6. Yes, and they just announced that they added San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, and we're missing one. Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and, oh yeah, Colorado State. So, this is kind of an interesting expansion idea for a few reasons outside of the geographic positioning of these institutes. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Yet none of them are really research institutes, which certainly diminishes the value of the Pac-12, what it stands for anyway. But let's finish this up here. And the Pac-12's move may have another ripple effect on a grander stage, is what I want to go with this. That would be the college football playoff. Given the departure in the Pac-12, CFP leaders last year voted to change the 12-team expanded playoff format. They removed one automatic qualifying spot and added an at-large bid for a format that features 5 automatic qualifiers for the highest-ranked conference champions and 7 at-large bids. So, in the next couple of years, the Pac-12 champion is not eligible for an automatic qualifying spot, as it does not meet the CFP's conference minimum requirements. However, starting in 2026, the champion of a rebuilt Pac-12 would presumably be eligible to receive an automatic bid. So that, of course, begs the question, after the latest realignment, what are the schools will the Pac-12 try to scoop up? I mean, look, everyone's got an opinion on this. Everybody does. And it doesn't matter who you're talking to, just myself as well. And one organization had stated that the Conference of Champions is on the way to rebuilding, starting with the acquisition of 4 Mountain West schools, Boise State, San Diego State, Colorado State, Fresno State. And they will begin play in the new league in the fall of 2026. And, of course, that gets Commissioner Teresa Gould. I stuttered for a second. I stopped for a minute there because I was thinking of Robbie Gould. Now, the correct pronunciation for hers is Gould, yet Robbie Gould, the former Chicago Bears and San Francisco 49ers field goal kicker, a very good one, he has the exact same spelling, and he pronounces it Gold. It's pretty interesting. Nonetheless, so Teresa Gould, the commissioner of the Pac-12, it gets her to 6 members with Oregon State, Washington State, as we noted earlier, but she needs at least 2 more additions to reach the NCAA's minimum threshold to qualify as an FBS conference. So, as she has only a matter of months to do it, the Pac-12 must reach 8 members by July of 2026. And, of course, the end of the NCAA's 2-year grace period that allows the league to reestablish itself. So it seems like a long time, but it really isn't. I mean, in a world with constant moves and money and big contracts, I mean, it seems like this one's fighting for that contract, fighting for this contract. So the Pac-12 would prefer to have its full membership during negotiations for a new television deal. There it is. It's all about the money. Something they'd probably like to get solidified sooner rather than later. And of course, any TV network would prefer to know what they're buying before they buy it. Right? That's the old caveat emptor, buyer beware. In its statements announcing the new additions to the conference, the Pac-12 provided criteria for additional new members, but as it's often the case, brand power, on-field success, and television markets will move the needle more than anything. That said, there are other factors to consider, such as total membership number. You don't want to spread yourself too thin and take on programs that don't add enough value. Now, the question is, what kind of value are you talking about? Because I would say that those schools, the additions, add very little academic value. Now, remember, television contracts serve as the biggest revenue generator for athletic departments, and you must distribute television money, often evenly, to your members. Unless, of course, you're some of these other favored institutions, but that's another discussion for another time. With each new member, you decrease the amount of the whole. So, there is something else to consider. Exit and penalty fees for potential new members. These can be costly, and despite the narrative that the Pac-12 has endless money to pay for all those transactions, really it doesn't. Yes, the conference has more than $100 million in a war chest. That's in new revenues due to the bowl contracts, CFP distribution, and NCAA tournament units, but it is using many of those funds for operational purposes. How can two institutions burn through $100 million? I don't know. Nonetheless, enough about all that. Who else could or would enter the Pac-12? And the league wants to be known as the best of the rest at this point, outside of the Power Four leagues. So who would agree to make that move? And what's the ripple effect on the other group of 5 conferences and college sports as a whole? So take a look at the ACC and Big 12. Look, the Pac-12's first option was not to rebuild. It was a fine option and one they were comfortable with, but it certainly wasn't the priority. Oregon State and Washington State's top option was the same as all the other schools left searching for a home after Washington and Oregon left for the Big Ten, and they wanted to join an established power conference. So, of course, overtures to the Big 12 and ACC went nowhere, and they showed little to no interest as they did last fall when the league took Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, and, well, let's face it, Stanford and Cal went to the ACC as well. And I think actually academically they're a very good fit over there. Some fine institutions in the ACC. Anyway, geographically it's a mess. But there was hope expressed even publicly at times that a significant realignment, even in the ACC, Florida State, Clemson, and other existing, would trigger a domino effect that could benefit the Pac-12's future. So perhaps they could serve as a replacement and form an ACC West Coast wing, which, okay, the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, yet on the Pacific Ocean. Let's think about that. Come on, man. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Anyway, so with Stanford and Cal being ACC West, I don't know about that. Or maybe the Cardinal and Bears would be willing in an ACC left in disarray to join them in their rebuild quest? No, I don't think so. Not with the addition of those substandard academic institutions. I don't think so. So that leaves them here, rebuilding with the addition of Mountain West schools, which sort of was on the blueprint before, and everybody talked about this. I talked about this 6-7 months ago, maybe even a year ago. Anyway, Stanford and Cal did sign the ACC grant of rights, binding them to the league until 2036, as the current deal is written. And of course, this is not new information, as we said previously. But for now, as the ACC agreement is written, they are not candidates in the Pac-12 rebuild. But one day, if the ACC starts losing members, could they be? Magic 8 Ball says signs point to yes. And for now, that's not the case, and it would likely take a catastrophic event to convince the two to turn down millions each in ACC television revenues to return to the Pac-12. And frankly, why would they? Because really the caliber of the Pac-12 was greatly diminished with, if they come back with Washington and Oregon gone, USC and UCLA gone, what is the point? They all went to the Big Ten. They went for a very good reason. Now the Big Ten is truly big, and they go from coast to coast. They cover the top 3 media markets in America, New York, Chicago, LA. So why would the other schools even consider turning back in the same light as why would the ACC want to or even allow Stanford and Cal to leave in the first place when they just took them, and I think it would be a horrible move. Anyway, while they're not yet receiving full ACC shares, they will eventually get them, and those figures are expected to be significantly more than the TV value of the Pac-12 in the first place. So, who could join? Who could join the Pac-2? And we'll start out, of course, with the American Athletic Conference. So if the Pac-12's next preferred expansion were in the Mountain West and beyond the four already named, they'd already have a nice big task in front of them. However, they didn't. So a sign they first may look for easterly candidates, right, to expand the footprint. Not really sure that's a good idea, but anyway, let's just play along. So that includes a host of programs, many of them now members of the AAC, for years the premier group of 5 league in college athletics. And the ACC has the most attractive members from a TV market, brand value, and on-field perspective, including Memphis, Tulane, UTSA, North Texas, Rice, and even one in Florida, being South Florida. Of course, the Texas schools would make a strong travel partner with one another. Same goes with Tulane and Rice, 2 high academic institutions that are close in proximity to one another. And they say, well, Rice is a hard sell. I don't know about that. We're going to come right back to this. I mean, you got to remember, Rice has kind of bounced around quite a bit, and Rice is one of America's better universities that people don't know about. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studios, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, or recorded shows, which are our podcasts. No, we don't do a podcast. We just happen to have all of our shows stored in their entirety on those platforms, such as Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, iHeart, etc., etc. Also, make sure you check out the partners page at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great partners that have been with us for many, many years. And listen, folks, if there's anything there, just click through and like and just tell them that the Sports Circus sent you. We don't get anything for doing that. We're just saying it just because we can. All right. In the last segment, talking a little bit about that potential Pac-12, or better yet, Pac-2 expansion, which is now the Pac-6, because they're starting to retool by adding Fresno State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Boise State. So the targets of who they could add, being the Pac-6 now, who could they add? And we left off talking about the American Athletic Conference, and they seem to have the most attractive members from a TV market. Of course, as we mentioned in the last segment, going to recap, brand value and on-field success perspective, including Memphis, Tulane, UTSA, North Texas, the Mean Green, the Rice Owls, and even South Florida. Now, the Texas schools would make strong travel partners with one another. The same goes with Tulane and Rice, which, of course, are two high academic institutions that are pretty close to one another. So, if given the chance, not all will get interest from the Pac-12, and this is, of course, just somebody's opinion. And these schools must decide if moving to a conference across the country in a completely different region is a cultural fit, and it's offset by the Pac-12's brand and television value. So again, what do we come back to?
Show me the money!
That's right. So the problem, look, we don't really know its TV value, but those at the Pac-12 estimate it to be higher than the best group of 5 deals, which is the American, who distributes to its original members about $8 to $10 million annually. Not bad. So if the Pac-12 is at $10 to $12 million per school, is that worth the move across the country? What about $15 million? And of course, the latter figure seems high, but who knows? I mean, these TV contracts, look, folks, end of day, when you look at the scheduling in the western half of the U.S., there needs to be an expanded television package. Somebody's going to have to carry it, because not everybody just gets up at the crack of dawn on the West Coast and watches the East Coast games or those in the Midwest. No, they like to have their day and then turn on their afternoon game, maybe the 12 o'clock game, and see their schools in their region playing. So that's the allure behind this. Not everybody wants to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning and get ready for the pregame, which they'd rather be watching that at maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, where normal people are ready after doing whatever they do on a Saturday morning. So look, don't expect new AAC Commissioner Tom Pernetti to be proactive. Now, according to those with knowledge of his thinking, Pernetti is interested in pursuing Mountain West programs such as Air Force. Well, that's a whole nother discussion we're going to get to in just a moment here. So Pernetti already has Army and Navy in his conference. Air Force is a sensible and attractive addition to the Mountain West, and the ACC, or better yet, to the AAC, and the AAC could offer more in distribution than the Mountain West does, which is at about 5 to 6 million. But the American isn't the only league with teams of interest to the Pac-12. The Sun Belt has Texas State, an up-and-coming athletic department, which is, well, they've got a pretty good football team. All right, but folks, again, is this about sports or is it about academics? Right now it's about sports, apparently. And of course, they have a large student body just outside of Austin, Texas, which, I don't know politically if that matches the climate as well, because they're hyper-liberal in Austin, Texas. It's the only part of Texas besides the center of Houston that happens to be of that distinction. Well, or lack thereof, if you know what I mean. Anyway, maybe they'll fix their games like the debate. Who knows? Anyway, so something also to keep in mind with all this, the Pac-12 lost its designation as an autonomous power conference, a moniker that gives it more voting privileges with the NCAA governance and more revenue in the CFP distribution model. So while unlikely to earn back the status, there is a look-in provision in the CFP contract after 2027, after the playoffs, that can be triggered to reevaluate revenue distribution in the Pac-12 if stable enough, with enough brands, could make an argument for more CFP money. Now, over in the Mountain West, what if the Pac-12 is stymied out of the East? Well, they're going to look right back to where they just poached from in the first place, seemingly. Of course, that leaves them with few choices except to turn their attention again to the Mountain West. Many around the athletics expressed surprise that, wait for it, UNLV was not included in the Pac-12's initial phase of expansion. Look, the only thing good about having, never mind University of Nevada, it's Las Vegas. It's the money from Las Vegas, because it certainly isn't the university. The university, in my opinion, is the gum on the bottom of academia's shoe. It is what it is, folks. Take a look. Look at the rankings. Academically, it's not so good. Anyway, of course, located in a major city with a football program on the way up, there's potential there. However, politics are at play. Gee, what a big surprise. More politics. Anyway, according to those with knowledge of the discussion, separating the two, UNLV is a hurdle. And it doesn't mean it cannot be done. I sure hope they don't bring those guys in. I really don't, because now I'll be an absolute anti-Pac-12 guy. But perhaps at a later date, maybe they can be evaluated and a move. I don't know. I really don't think that they go. And if they do go, the bigger question is who goes with them. So, me personally, I look at this and say, who are the good fits from the Mountain West? I mean, first and foremost, it is Air Force. They need a strong academic program in the Pac-12. Because if you don't have one, well, what do you have? You just have a bunch of schools that are focused on athletics rather than academics. Air Force Academy is one of the finer institutes in America. And it almost seems out of place to have them in the Mountain West, which is a bunch of mediocre at best institutions. I'm saying academically. Very, very mediocre. But anyway, the Mountain West Commissioner, Gloria Navarez, is sitting idle. And in fact, the league has vetted possible members, something that traces back to last year when San Diego State and Boise State were in consideration to join the old Pac-12. So New Mexico State, new to Conference USA, makes geographic sense. Does UTEP also in Conference USA? Both programs would likely see a doubling of annual distribution. Could they even get a signing bonus? There's the next one. Mountain West is due as much as $110 million in exit fees. So you never know. That actually may work. So then there's talk of, wait for it, Tarleton State. All right, with tons of money and potential residents just outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I mean, seriously, really? Come on. And what about the FCS? Now, for me, I personally think that North Dakota State and South Dakota State make very good options for both the Pac-6 now and or the Mountain West. Because, look, these are stable academic institutions, and they're the only ones really of huge value in the Dakotas. And think about the idea that they expand the coverage, they expand the footprint. I mean, there's not a big population there. But what about Montana State and Montana? What about the Grizz? Unfortunately, I mean, you have 4 schools there. Could they join the Pac-12? Maybe. Could they join the Mountain West? Probably better so there. But keep in mind that the NCAA recently increased the entrance fee for those moving from the FCS to the FBS to $5 million. And I love this. Here's an article by Yahoo, and they say basketball schools, not institutions, basketball schools. Back to the Pac-12. There are plenty of West Coast basketball brands that may be attractive to any new Pac-12 conference. Of course, the easy one is Gonzaga, a program with a storied basketball tradition that routinely advances to the Sweet 16. I mean, is this about sports? What the hell is this about? This is stupid. And, I scratch my head with this and say, well, wait a minute. What are we really trying to achieve here? Is this just about money? Never mind the institutions in which build economies. That would be education. That's the biggest question that I have. And so Washington State and Oregon State, they have their hands full in trying to drive something other than sports. They are supposed to protect the academics of these institutions in the first place. I mean, are schools like UNLV going to help it? No. Who could help the Pac-12? I don't know. I think Air Force can easily help it. And I also believe that the University of Hawaii can help it too, because not only does it expand the footprint into the Pacific Ocean, but also I believe it captures a part of the Las Vegas market anyway, yet it'll still keep its rival with the local school. But what it does is it brings a viable option to the 9th Island, which is right here in fabulous Las Vegas. And I think it really helps the television coverage. So let's face it, folks. Hawaii and Air Force, in my opinion, are the two logical picks. But then again, I'm not on that committee. I wouldn't throw in anybody else into that mix. It must include Air Force and another, and I really believe footprint-wise, Hawaii seems to be the best option because it gives them a stable presence right here in Las Vegas with over 200,000 Hawaiians right here in fabulous Las Vegas. Back here in just a few minutes on the circus, switching over to odds for the football games. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests and our prior guests. Lots of great guests coming up. Have some news coming out, too, that we can't share just yet. You'll have to wait for the press release to come out. And, of course, if you've seen our press releases in the past, you can go to the About page and scroll down under the personalities, and you can see there's been a bevy of press releases, and they get really big circulation, too. Pick your favorite network affiliate and pick your favorite city across America. It seems like you can't get away from us. Anyway, folks, lots of that coming up, and we want to make a big thanks out there to our friends, to Chicago Food Favorites over on Facebook. Thanks for joining us over there as they do on a regular basis. That is a fun Facebook page that talks about local foods and regional foods from greater Chicagoland. But guess what? You don't have to be there. You could be in any one of the four corners of these, well, of the globe, so to say, for all you flat earthers out there. You never know. But anyway, have some fun with it. Post your favorite recipes and your favorite restaurants. They don't have to be local to that area. They could just be something fun. In fact, I'm the administrator for it, and I post a lot of fun recipes out there for people, and they try them, and they seem to like them as well. So again, that's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents, everybody on Hotel TV. Thanks for joining us in over 500,000 rooms, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, and on we go. All right, so shifting over as we had this Pac-12, Pac-2, Pac-6 discussion. Let's take a look at the first game on the docket, which some of you are going to get this a little bit late because of our TV and radio schedule. My apologies. So you're going to get my prognostication, and of course the game's already going to be over, but let's see how good or bad I was in this. You know, in the last segment, we briefly talked about Texas State. Texas State is going to host Arizona State. So basically it's Austin, Texas against Phoenix, Arizona. And somehow Texas State is a 2.5-point favorite. In some places, 3. A couple of casinos right here in Vegas are 3. You know what? I'm going to follow the money because that's what you're supposed to do, folks. Follow the money. The money says Texas State. I'm going to take Texas State minus 2.5, and that's pretty much the consensus here across the board. Let's go with that one. That one's being played over in the greater Austin market. Now, Northwestern State, in case you don't know where that is, folks, that is up in northern Louisiana. Their colors are purple and yellow. And it's a small school in a little town called Natchitoches. And I had been there once before. Somebody corrected me, and they said, no, it's Natchitoches, not Nacogdoches. Well, the reason I said Natchitoches in the first place was because there is a Natchitoches over in Texas, on the other side of the border, maybe within an hour away from there. And so I know that one pretty well. And so when I went over to where Northwestern State is, I said, hey, how's everyone here in Natchitoches? And of course, they said, yeah, just get out of here with that. It's Natchitoches. Anyway, so Northwestern State travels to South Alabama. South Alabama is a 37.5-point favorite. I'm going to lay the 37.5 all day and twice on Sunday. That should be a complete disaster. Speaking of disaster, how about this one? How about Kansas is hosting UNLV? Now, Kansas is a pretty good upstart squad, and they are minus 9 across the board. Well, hold on. They're 8.5 at one of these fantasy football places, but we're going to call it, even though MGM Grand has it at minus 8.5, let's take the 9. So 9 seems to be fair. So let's go minus 9. I'm laying the 9 points with Kansas. That makes a little bit of sense to me. Here's a good game. This is a really good game, and it's Kansas State hosting Arizona. Now, that is a retooled Arizona team, but Kansas State is a very good squad. They're minus 7 across the board, and I'm inclined to take Arizona plus the 7. But I'm not going to. I'm going to lay the 7 and take Kansas State because those guys are good. There's probably going to be one of those high-scoring affairs. I'm going to end up getting bitten on this one, but that's okay. Tulsa is plus 19. Better yet, 18.5. That's consensus. 18.5. And they're hosting Oklahoma State. Now, these two schools aren't far apart from one another. And the Golden Hurricanes of Tulsa, they play their in-state rivals pretty well. I'm inclined to take Tulsa as the home team dog, plus 18.5. That's a lot of points. The Mean Green of North Texas traveled to Lubbock to face the Red Raiders of Texas. Boy, that's a fun one there. So the line opened up at 11. Texas Tech is 9.5 across the board. And the Mean Green seem to play pretty close games. And it seems like Texas Tech doesn't know how to play defense. We're going to take the 9.5 and the Mean Green. I love that name. The Mean Green of Texas, North Texas. Now Alabama and their new coaching staff travels up to Madison, Wisconsin, and they are laying 16.5 to Wisconsin. Wow, that's a huge number. Actually, the number is 16. Only 2 places out of 8 have the line at 16.5. So we're going to say consensus is 16. Look, that line is awful. For Wisconsin to get 16 points at home, I'm going to lay the 16 and take Alabama. That makes all the sense in the world to me, only because that's what the money wants. Illinois, a big home team home team favorite, minus 18.5 across the board against Central Michigan. And Illinois, over the time, has been known as a defensive squad. They don't really score a lot. Central Michigan got murdered last week. But you know what? I'm going to take the 18.5, and I'm going to go with Central Michigan. Folks, I hope you're keeping score of these, because I'm going to go back and check these after the games are played myself. And who the hell knows? Maybe I'll get some big number in. Maybe I'll lose all of them, which I absolutely doubt. So, Memphis travels to Tallahassee. It's not really too far of a ride, but Florida State is 6.5 across the board. I'm taking Florida State over Memphis all day. Cincinnati travels to Miami of Ohio. And Cincinnati, after a tough loss last week, they should get well against Miami of Ohio. So we're going to go with Cincinnati minus 3.5. The line is 3.5. We're going to lay the 3.5 with the Bearcats. Louisiana Tech travels to Raleigh, North Carolina to play NC State. Line is 21.5 across the board. I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech. That's too many points for Louisiana Tech. They are a pretty good defensive squad year in and year out. LSU travels to South Carolina. That line has stayed 7 pretty much all week long. A couple of places they have it at 6.5. South Carolina is a home team dog. They're getting 7. I'm taking the 7. Brian Kelly, well, let's face it, he's a decent coach, but I don't know if they're going to cover the 7. If anything, that game would probably be a push. Arkansas State, the upstart Arkansas State club, they travel to Ann Arbor, and boy, those guys up in the big house are not going to be happy. But Arkansas State can make this a close game. Michigan they opened up at 24, and it's 23, 23.5. One place actually has it at 22.5. Something tells me that Arkansas State will probably lose this game 31-10, and they'll find themselves covering that 23 point line. So we're going to take Arkansas State there. Boston College, Michigan's going to win the game. Boston College has a very tough game at Missouri. Now, Missouri is a team loaded with defense. I don't know. I don't even know if Boston College will score in this game. I would lay the 16 and take Missouri. That's just me. But then again, Boston College could muster up a late touchdown to cover. But no, it's going to be Missouri. Missouri is a very, very, very stable and sound club. This should be a disaster right here. UMass travels to Buffalo. Buffalo got murdered last week. Buffalo, the line has come down 1.5 points, so all the money is going on to UMass, but I don't really see what UMass has. I'm taking Buffalo minus 3.5. Twice on Sunday also. Coastal Carolina is minus 18 at Temple. Now that's sort of a conundrum because Temple plays defensive football. Coastal Carolina plays offensive football. So will they cover the 17, actually 18, we'll call it 18 because it looks like 18 is the average. I don't know. They probably will. I'm going to stay away from that one. Texas A&M and Florida. So you have this SEC matchup, which usually are pretty close games. Florida is a home team dog, plus 3.5. It's been that way all week. It's probably going to stay that way. And that's probably a 3-point game, 27-24. I'll take Florida plus 3.5. Washington State in the Apple Cup. This is the early version of the Apple Cup. Washington State travels to Washington. Normally this is the last game of the year played between these two, but now with the addition of Washington to the Big Ten, they have other plans. But the Apple Cup is still the Apple Cup, and there's a little bit of Pac-12 pride there for Washington State. Watch for Washington State to keep this one close. And I don't know. I think all the money is going to go on Washington State. Look for Washington State to possibly win this game straight up. That's a good money line bet. And then the other one, Oregon State is hosting Oregon. So we have the same dynamic there. Oregon State, a very good defensive squad. They opened up at plus 20.5. They're down to plus 16.5 over Oregon. And I think that's going to be a lot closer than what people think. I'm going to go with the two home team dogs in the Pac-2. West Virginia in the backyard brawl plays Pittsburgh. That's a 2-point line. West Virginia is -2. And I have no opinion there other than it'll be a fun and entertaining game. Ball State and Miami. Ball State is getting 37.5. They're going to need it because Miami should smash them. It should be a 49-0 game. Tulane and Oklahoma, that looks like the paper clips. That line has been 13.5 pretty much all week. I'm going to take Tulane with those 13.5 points. That's a lot of points. I don't care where they're playing at. Nevada, Wolfpack, travels to Minneapolis-St. Paul, and they're getting 17.5. They're going to need all of it. Minnesota should win by 3 touchdowns there. Notre Dame and Purdue, unfortunately, my beloved Boilermakers, man, it's not going to be a good game for them. Looks like they're plus 9.5. I would take Notre Dame minus the 9.5. That seems to be one of the best bets of the year. Morgan State and the Bobcats of Ohio, no comment because that one's basically off the board. Georgia Tech, VMI, same thing. Prairie View, Michigan State, pretty much the same thing. App State and East Carolina, that'll be a good game. App State is minus 1.5 against the Pirates of East Carolina. I don't know, App State's a very good squad. I'm going to take App State, and I'm going to lay the 1.5. The men of Troy travel to Iowa, and they are plus 22.5 in a game they may score only 22 points in the first place. Take the points and Troy. UAB in Arkansas, that is a 21, 23, 24 point spread. Arkansas big. Utah State, and Utah State is plus 18.5. We're going to take Utah State with the points. Vatech and Old Domino. Vatech all day over Old Domino. UTEP and Liberty. Liberty, lay the farm. It doesn't matter. Duke and UConn, lay the 16.5. Duke should win easily. Florida International and Florida Atlantic. How about Florida Atlantic? minus 5. That's the magic number. Colgate's off. Gardner-Webb's off. NC Central's off. South Carolina State's off. Old Miss and Wake. Take the 22.5 and Wake. They're a home team dog. Western Michigan's off. Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. Western Kentucky all day. Jacksonville State and Eastern Michigan. That looks like it's going to be Eastern Michigan. Vanderbilt travels to Atlanta to play Georgia State. Look at it. Watch it. I'll take that home team dog at plus 10.5. UTSA and Texas. Take that 35.5 with UTSA. Hawaii, Sam Houston, all day Hawaii. South Florida, Southern Miss. That's going to be South Florida. Kennesaw State, San Jose. Well, that's going to be Kennesaw. Toledo and Mississippi State. Toledo, the Rockets. Pass them. Auburn, War Eagle. All over New Mexico. They owe a school from New Mexico something. And we're going to see you in about 23 hours on your favorite station. So long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.